This is the Washington Times front page for Monday, August 15th, 2022. Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm George Gerbo. Republicans on the House Foreign Affairs Committee have released a report detailing U.S. missteps during the hasty withdrawal from Afghanistan last year. Stephen Dinan reports the report found the evacuation started late, it abandoned tens of thousands of allies it should have saved, and it may have allowed the August 26 suicide bomb attack that killed 13 American troops. The White House labeled the report as partisan and said the Trump administration should take the blame for difficulties in managing the evacuation. The U.S. committed to the withdrawal in an agreement signed with the Taliban in 2020. Monday marks 1 year since Afghanistan's Western-backed government was toppled by the Taliban. New York City health officials have detected polio in the city's wastewater, a development that portends community spread of the virus. Tom Howe reports state and city health officials said sewage samples sent to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed the presence of the virus. Health departments identified one case of it in Rockland County, New York last month, but the samples suggest the virus could be pinging around New York City as well. Officials said they're working aggressively to assess the extent of the spread. They fear the pathogen, which can cause paralysis and death, will afflict people who are unvaccinated or not up to date on their vaccines. Efforts by Attorney General Merrick Garland to provide clarity on the FBI's search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate have done little to quell blowback from some Republican lawmakers. Top Republicans continue to rail against the Justice Department's actions and demand greater transparency into the information used to obtain the warrant, Ramsey Touchberry and Jeff Murdoch report. That's despite an extraordinary press conference from Garland and the unsealing of the warrant that allowed FBI agents to seize highly classified documents from the estate. The unsealing of the search warrant revealed the DOJ is investigating Trump for 3 suspected violations of federal law related to the documents: the Espionage Act, obstruction of justice, and the removal or destruction of records. You can find all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and you can find our entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. The U.S. should give Taiwan every tool it needs to block a Chinese takeover, according to former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Pompeo sat down with our national security team leader Guy Taylor for a wide-ranging interview. He also expressed concern that national security agencies are under assault from a political mindset that threatens to undermine the core mission of protecting Americans. Although he sidestepped the question of whether he'll run for president, Pompeo said he'll be working to ensure Republicans win in this year's midterm elections. The Supreme Court's landmark gun ruling this summer has given conservative states new energy in a legal challenge over a ban on bump stocks. Alex Warrior reports it's unclear whether the Second Amendment precedent laid out by the justices will extend to firearm accessories as lower courts grapple with renewed gun rights challenges. The states point to the Fourth Amendment's protection against federal seizure of private property and the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms, bolstered by the High Court's June ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. Bump stocks are devices attached to semi-automatic rifles that allow them to fire more rapidly. And finally, if you've got what it takes to forage through the Everglades and wrestle a 10-foot Burmese python, the state of Florida has a job for you. Susan Ferricchio reports the state is at the tail end of its annual Python Challenge to capture as many snakes as possible to help prevent the invasive species from decimating the Everglades ecosystem. More than 850 people from across the country and Canada registered for this year's competition, and a chance to win $24,000 in cash prizes. The grand prize of $10,000 goes to the person that removes the most pythons in 10 days. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.